anonymous state of corruption. In this video I will discuss in a nutshell how all courts are, and also the way how it should be fair for everyone. I have a video that I took from a news clip. It is basically former Nebraska Senator Ernie Chambers, who filed a satirical lawsuit against God in his state to make a point on how the court system operates. Forget about the claims he makes in the lawsuit, but listen to what he says on how the courts in his state of Nebraska reviewed his claims, which is basically how pretty much all courts are run in this country. State Senator Ernie Chambers makes many good points throughout his brief interviews on how the court system operates.
Many people do like to blame God for what's wrong in the world. In times of pain, they feel abandoned. Joining me now from Nebraska is the man who sued God, State Senator Ernie Chambers. And Senator, thank you for being with us. Tell us, what was your goal in launching this lawsuit?
I can sum it up in a sentence: to make sure that people understand that each person is entitled to his or her day in court, no matter how unpopular that person is or how disliked the issue that the person brings.
Okay, so this was an issue that you felt should be pinned on God. Why did you choose God as your case?
The principle, if I merely stated it as I did to you, would have just been ho-hummed away. Just like if I wrote a book that nobody would read or composed a song that nobody would heed. If I had just stated the principle, nobody would have paid attention. So I needed that hook to catch the public's attention, engage their mind, and get them to see how important the operation of the court system is in assuring that every grievance should have a right to at least one review by a judge.
Okay, so you didn't really care about the God part then, is that right?
Well, I had a lot of fun with that, and it took on little centipede legs of its own, ran all around the world, and believe it or not, that seems to be what most people are interested in. But since I brought the lawsuit, I'm prepared to discuss any aspect of it. I do mean all of the things that I said in the lawsuit, that God, based on what people say, knows everything, is all-powerful, nothing can happen without the will of God, so the tornadoes, the pestilences, the birth defects, all of the horrendous things that happen in the world are God's will, and God caused them, and intended to cause them, intended the result.
Okay, Ernie, do you believe in God?
That's a question that doesn't allow of a yes or no answer. I'll tell you what I do believe in. I believe in algebra.
Okay, give me one other of your points that you put up against the defendant, God.
All of the terroristic threats that we're told have been made by God will lead to strokes, heart attacks, great anxiety, discomfort, uncertainty, and it's all done to try to coerce people to comply with the will of this God they supposedly believe in.
Now, where would you base that on? I don't see anywhere that God's got coercion on our health issues.
Well, the coercion is based on the notion that if you don't do what supposedly is the will of this being, then you're going to be punished in this world perhaps, but if not here, certainly after you die by going to a place and being burned forever. This lawsuit is like a satirical essay to teach other people something.
Very interesting. And Ernie, tell us how this has all concluded. I believe your lawsuit was eventually thrown out because you could not find an address for God.
Right. So now I have it docketed in the Nebraska Court of Appeals, where I will prosecute my appeal and demonstrate that the judge, in not only dismissing it, but said with prejudice, which means it cannot be filed again, I will show that he went too far in his ruling. That should be reversed, and I should be allowed to start all over. That, in a nutshell, is the point I'll be pushing on appeal.
So you want God back in court for all of these charges of abandoning his
every
duties?
one of them. And what I'm seeking is a permanent injunction so these negative actions will end, and so the terroristic threats will stop. And when I've been asked, how in the world is the court going to enforce that order? Why would you ask the court to do it? I'd say for the same reason and on the same principle that people will bring a lawsuit against what is considered a big-time criminal. Governments do this in absentia. Without the power to bring the person before that court, that person nevertheless is tried, convicted, sentenced in absentia, and the court has no power over that person. So the fact that there's not power to carry out an order has not stopped courts from issuing them anyway, and I want the same consideration.
Like I said, forget about the details of the lawsuit. Now listen to this particular key moment in the video. This is how the courts should be for Mike Gill and everyone else in this country, which unfortunately it is not in our state of New Hampshire, due to the massive amount of corruption.
To make sure that people understand that each person is entitled to his or her day in court, no matter how unpopular that person is or how disliked the issue that the person brings.
Listen to this next key moment relevant to this video, that in similarity Mike Gill has gone through numerous times with the courts in New Hampshire.
And when I've been asked, how in the world is the court going to enforce that order? Why would you ask the court to do it? I'd say for the same reason and on the same principle that people will bring a lawsuit against what is considered a big-time criminal. Governments do this in absentia. Without the power to bring the person before that court, that person nevertheless is tried, convicted, sentenced in absentia, and the court has no power over that person. So the fact that there's not power to carry out an order has not stopped courts from issuing them anyway, and I want the same consideration.
The courts in New Hampshire has abused their jurisdiction with Mike Gill, me, and other people in this state in similar ways that state Nebraska Ernie Chambers has described in this news clip. So in a nutshell, he's saying that it is so simple for the courts to abuse their jurisdiction. It doesn't matter who you are, or what you do, if you are in the crosshairs of the courts, and if they don't like you, they can order whatever they want, even though they may or may not have the power to do so. They can and will easily disregard your rights as well. This is the similar case for Mike Gill, me, citizens in the state of New Hampshire, or anyone else in the country. The courts in the state of New Hampshire does way too much of what former state Senator Ernie Chambers mentions towards the end of his interview, which is unfortunately how the courts operate. These are examples that Mike Gill and others in the state of New Hampshire in a nutshell have gone through with the courts in the state, which I find sadly quite despicable. These are the points that I am trying to make on how courts in the state of New Hampshire as well as most of the other states in the country are run. No matter what, everyone is entitled to his or her day in court, no matter how unpopular the person is, or unpopular the issue that the person brings, or the defense that the person brings. Remember, please don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. Also please don't forget to like and follow Mike Gill on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/stateofcorruptionnh. Remember, I am anonymous. You can't sue me. I have no legal address. Let's end corruption in the state of New Hampshire. You better expect it to end.